This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Cody Bellinger to the Yankees? Wow, we've been trying to break this news for 4 days, 8 days, 12 days, 25 days. I mean, take your pick. Hey, guess what? We got nothing to report. Nothing at all. New York Yankees have traded for Devin Williams. That's pretty exciting. We went live on Friday to talk about it. I was told, and I think everyone was told, it's not just me, we all thought a Cody Bellinger trade was right behind. So much so that we all formed opinions on it. Oh, I think this is a good use of the Yankees' resources. First, outfield, versatility. Are we worried about the pressure of the Bronx and, does Clay Bellinger being his father matter? Is this really our offensive centerpiece? Then people were like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, Bellinger can't hit. The hard hit rate's dipping. And then people were like, well, look at the Yankee Stadium park factor versus Wrigley. Look at his performance on the road. People were selling themselves and debating on something that may never even happen. Last we got was John Heyman yesterday saying that there's still a gap in the negotiations dollar-wise and that it's about who blinks first and whether someone ever will blink. So we're still waiting on that. And the longer it goes, the less likely it feels like it'll happen, which is an odd one because typically Yankee fans get their hopes up over moves like this. And in this instance, Yankee fans are kind of just silently accepting that we're going to have Cody Bellinger, and some are excited and many are not. Many are nonplussed, and nobody wants this to be the big dish. And everybody's like, well, if this is the second or third biggest offensive move, that's fine. Nobody's excited about this as the crown jewel of the offseason, and it might not even happen. So we're here to talk about the pros, cons, pluses, minuses, and what we're even still waiting on here. Plus, the Max Fried deal not announced by the New York Yankees, although it seems like it will be soon. If you look at the tea leaves, they never announced things. It took them 14 days to announce Aaron Judge's contract. So tick-tock, but seems to be no reason to be worried there. The Yankees are connected to basically every target, by the way. If you don't think they have leverage in the Bellinger chase, first base, mutual interest with Anthony Santander. We'll talk about the Kyle Tucker trade falling apart, which was not yet official when we did our last show and became official about an hour later. And I want to talk about Alex Bregman a little bit, as well as a bombshell report about the Baltimore Orioles while we still can, because the rumor mill is still buzzing. Thank you for joining us. 2 o'clock Eastern every Monday and Thursday. Back into typical offseason schedule mode this week. We'll see you on Monday before the holiday as well. So stay tuned. Turn your notifications on there. Thomas Carannante, welcome to the show. Vibes. How are the vibes in your household? We kind of got we don't have much to go off of. People just keep tweeting that the Yankees and Cubs are sitting in a room, and I don't know how long it really should take to hammer out the details of this pretty simple trade. And Cubs fans think they have all the leverage. I don't understand that. The Yankees fans, obviously, we are those. We think we have all the leverage. So if everybody thinks they have the leverage, I guess we're just going to sit here for a while. And the conclusion, I mean, is it even satisfying? Like, are you get a fist pump if we do get Cody Bellinger? Like, what's going on here?
No, I mean, what are the vibes? The vibes are back to normal, regular levels. You got a little bit excited after Fried, got a little bit excited after Devin Williams. That was a nice little surprise, even though on paper you're sitting there and you're like, this should happen. And it did. So I'm glad the Yankees made an obvious trade and were able to kind of offset the salary there. That gives them flexibility elsewhere. But to me, it's the same song and dance. I think a lot of people out there are getting irrationally excited about not really much. Max Fried, yes, a good addition. Devin Williams, yes, a good addition. There have still been no overtures to address the offense, which, again, is the main problem. You can continue getting all of the pitching you want. That's what the mid-market teams who can't get proper offense do, and those teams are not making deep playoff runs. So I'm back at whatever stage. Like, the Cody Bellinger trade is taking way too long. We just learned from Bob Nightingale that there's a holdup over the Yankees wanting the Cubs to chip in $10 million of his $32 million salary for 2025. And I think both fan bases have lost it at this point. Like, if the Cubs think they have leverage, they're out of their mind. If Yankees fans think that the Cubs should be paying down any of this salary, obviously depending on the trade package. If you're talking about a Will Warren for Cody Bellinger swap, just take the money. Take on all the money. If the Cubs are asking for more prospects, yes, the Cubs are going to have to take on more money. But based on the preliminary reporting, we've heard Will Warren is the prospect of interest. And we've heard that the Yankees want some of the salary paid down. And it's once again turning into an offseason where it feels like there's going to be a line drawn in the sand where they're not going to go too far into the free agent pool. They're not going to go too far into the trade market. And it's going to be like, all right, we'll keep this team a semi-contender, and we'll make sure that we don't put ourselves in a perilous position for 2026 to 2030. And that's the Yankees' way of thinking, and that's why it's frustrating, because Cody Bellinger should have been done by now. You should have been pivoting to your next move, should have been figuring out next steps, because the reality is that Cody Bellinger is not commanding a large prospect package.
Nope.
The Yankees also don't have a large prospect pool to trade from because of the diminished value there and how top-heavy the system is. And even if they were considering trading those big-name prospects, those should have been done in a Kyle Tucker deal. They should be talked about with the Padres for any of those guys that San Diego's trying to dump that would immediately help New York. So the lone silver lining here is that it's been slow for everybody, right? The winter meetings were even slow. We got action for about a day and a half, and that was it. And I'm not even counting the Juan Soto deal because that was before the winter meetings officially started. And the Mets literally did nothing after that, and I don't know if they have anything else planned because of how much money they just invested. So there's this big spillover of trade candidates and free agents that still remain. And what else are we running into? Holidays are coming up. No one's doing business starting next Monday. It's either everything's going to get done within the next week, or at least some more of the heavy lifting is going to get done the next week, or we're going to be sitting on our hands, waiting into the new year for stuff to happen. And then you're going to talk about maybe a little bit of an action-packed January. But again, it comes down to getting the guys that you want and being fairly, I guess you would say, aggressive or just expedient about it. And once again, the Yankees really aren't doing that. Like, Max Fried was somebody who was always going to sign at the winter meeting, so it's not like the Yankees went the extra mile to convince him to do so. The offers were on the table. There was clear communication between his agent and the Yankees knew where they had to go to just clean it up and get the deal done. But for everything else, you're sitting here and you're just like, why are some of these players still on the board? Why have some of these trades not still been made? And why haven't the Yankees addressed the obvious deficiency with their team right now, which is the offense, which is going to continuously hold them back. And with that, if you're not improving the offense, you're not improving the lineup, right? You're not improving the defense either, which was problem number 2. So how am I feeling? I'm back to kind of same old. I don't think Max Fried and Devin Williams necessarily thrust us into an echelon of contention we weren't in prior. I think the acquisition of an impact defender / bat would do that. And we're going to have to wait and see, because they're going to move at their pace. They're going to do the deals that they want on their terms. And that's why this is so frustrating.
The post Juan Soto high of being able to do whatever we want is now officially evaporating a little bit. Like, we're going to have to see some moves, because right now, they were hot after Christian Walker. Everyone and their mother had that rumored to be close to the finish line. It wasn't. Those talks cooled. They were hot on Cody Bellinger. Everyone said, they've agreed upon players. The only hurdle remaining is money. That's a major hurdle, and it's been a hurdle for like 7 days now, if not even longer, which we've said in the podcast title. It's been 84 years, like the old woman on the Titanic, since the Yankees and Cubs have started talking about Cody Bellinger, who, by the way, if he's a supplement and you add 3 bats, fantastic. If he's your whole offseason and a 1-for-1 Juan Soto replacement, and then you go internal with Oswald Peraza or whatever, it's a bad offseason. So Max Fried, love it. Devin Williams, trading Nestor, I love it. Creating a hole at second base, I don't love it, but it's the price you pay to get Devin Williams. Now, bats assemble. Now, the plus is there are so many first basemen that the Yankees can chase. The outfield market is a little less exciting. So if you're getting Bellinger, I would much rather swap a Will Warren type, get the Cubs to eat some money Get Bellinger out there rather than Anthony Santander, an imperfect fit in left field, rather than Jurickson and Profar, an odd use of resources, especially since, am I going to commit a multi-year deal to Jurickson and Profar right now when I definitely need to pay a first baseman and I might need to pay an infielder if I don't believe in Peraza? No, I don't think I want to do that. I think I'd rather trade for Bellinger and try to figure out first base with another swap. Now, the trade that's being talked about in the comments about Stroman, Taylor Rogers, and Bellinger in this three-way trade, and hopefully the person in the comments can clear that up. I heard that from Joel Sherman as just a pitch. Like, hey, maybe this would work. Maybe
that's right.
A deal where people move around to get Stroman's money off the books. I've never heard this as an actual rumor. So if you've seen that and there's an update, then definitely drop that off in the comments.
Drop it in, baby.
But all I've seen were those names thrown around in a hypothetical, and that was, again, like 2 weeks ago. We're still waiting on when this actually might go down for real. If you believe fans with sources, we were close to this on Friday and on Saturday, but fans with sources appear to be incorrect once again. But if you think the Cubs have all the leverage in this, which is deeply strange to me, sure, they could.
Why do they think that?
Now that you've got Cubs fans being like, well, now that we traded for Kyle Tucker, like, we're competing again. Who cares if we have to pay Cody Bellinger's salary? We could just walk away, or we could trade him somewhere else. I mean, you could just walk away, but you made it very publicly known that you wanted to shed this money for Cody Bellinger. So once you've declared that, you've drawn a line between yourselves and the player. You've made you could keep him, and then you uncomfortably go into next year with a salary that the player himself knows you don't want and the rest of the league knows you don't want. That's why the Yankees are standing firm. You won't pay $10 million. I mean, you're saving 70% on the contract, Chicago, and you're obtaining talent. People believe in Will Warren. You like him. Yes, the comment saying Joel Sherman posted it a week ago. Again, that was Sherman speculating about a fit that could occur.
Hypothetical.
That was a hypothetical. That was not Sherman saying that the Giants are in this or that the three teams had been talking. I wish that could happen. That'd be great. But that was hypothetical. Let's make that happen. To be fantastic. Yeah. So, the Yankees are, let's say they give them Will Warren. Let's say they give them another piece, and they're still paying 22 of the $32 million with the $27 million and the $5 million option, the buyout, buy-in or whatnot. It's a pretty good deal. And Will Warren is a projectable arm that a lot of people like. And the Yankees like Will Warren. The Yankees aren't deterred by his 5 ERA at AAA and tough major league stint last year. He's still a major player in their system. I wouldn't be I'm not thrilled with Bellinger as a candidate, but if all I'm giving up is Will Warren, I'm fine with that. And if Will Warren blossoms, I'm fine with that. You have to be. That's the price of doing business, especially at that price point. Bellinger, park factor stuff, worrisome last year if he stays a Cub, less worrisome if he becomes a Yankee. The bat really plays at Yankee Stadium. Also, want to make sure everyone remembers, he's 29 years old, not 36. His age 28 season was slightly underwhelming. His age 27 season, he was top 10 in MVP. Silver Slugger, hit 300, 139 OPS plus. Only 1 year removed from that. A bit inconsistent in his big league career. A lot of it was, hopefully you can blame it on that shoulder injury he suffered in 2020 that really set him off for the 2 years that followed. Imperfect player. You're not going to love everything. Swing is a long swing. Exit velocity, not top tier, but he's been an above average offensive player and a good defender when healthy pretty much his whole career. So I would be in favor of getting this done, but to tell me that the Cubs have all the leverage, when you look at the list of first basemen that the Yankees could obtain, it'll be harder to fill that outfield void. I get it. And I think if you're getting Bellinger, you have to get him as an outfielder at this point so that we don't have to play around with Alex Verdugo, so that we don't have to play around with another one of these mid-tier options. Andrew Benintendi's contract, I don't know if the White Sox want to get off that. Luis Robert, not for me, I don't think, at the price he's going to command.
No.
First base, endless. I mean, Walker's still there. Nobody's scooped Walker up yet. Yankees want to lose draft picks for Walker. They can. Feels like a good righty bat to have on this team, and a good one of the very few free agents who pairs great offense with great defense. Most of these free agents can either not hit a lick or are, defensively deficient power bats. This is why we were saying, again, the Soto afterglow, where you're talking about spreading the money around, is over. And now you're remembering, oh, yeah, I wanted Juan Soto because it was way easier to just pay Juan Soto instead of try to find people who are, comparable offensively or defensive upgrades that can't hit, all these imperfect free agent and trade solutions. You can just pay Juan Soto. And remember, there's a terrible tweet going around. I mean, that could be referring to 100 things, but there's a terrible tweet that's like stacking up different people you could pay to get to $760 million. It's like you could have this guy for 200, this guy for 150, this guy for 140, but it has nothing to, it's completely disregarding that Soto's deal is 15 years. It's stacking a whole bunch of 7-year deals to get up to 765. It's making the Yankees pay like 100 in annual value instead of 50 for Soto. So this guy's like, I don't get it. Just get it done. But he's basically proposing they go way over the luxury tax. You can really only pay 2 guys at this rate. I mean, Fried and another guy to get to Soto's AAV. The Yankees offered him $47.5 million. Like, Fried's already at $25 million. You can pay one more guy and you'll get there. So you don't have this endless budgetary. You were hoping for Soto and one more. I think you were just going to get Soto, though. It felt like maybe too much to hope for to get 2 big names. Now you can get 2. They've got 1. Let's get another one. Is it Bellinger? They kind of need 2. Josh Naylor, I like as a first base trade target. It's final year. Yandy Diaz. I like Yandy Diaz as a first base trade target. There are more. John Heyman mentioned endless options yesterday when talking about the staring contest. Carlos Santana on a 1 year. Nate Lowe, Rangers trade. He also said probably others. Yes, I agree. There are probably others. I think Bellinger fits better at Yankee Stadium than he does anywhere else. Fact.
Yeah.
Fact. Based on the swing path, based on team needs, etc. But they don't need him. So I'm fine with having a staring contest. And if the pressure gets ratcheted up and the Cubs have another buyer, then fine, talk to me. But as I see it now, I don't know who that other buyer is, and I don't know how much they're willing to kick something in. And the other buyer, if you're telling me the Giants want to get involved here, like, all right, let's say the Giants step in and figure something out and go get Cody Bellinger, then the Yankees should get Mike Yastrzemski. So the Giants are forcing somebody out of their outfield too. So it's never over. Whether they get him, if they get him, fantastic. If they don't, there are a lot of pivots here, but overarching, loud screaming, blaring siren, plenty of pivots. None of them are as talented as Juan Soto. So that's why Fried's here. That's why Devin Williams is here, because the offense is going to be downgraded next year. Might be deeper, but there won't be the same peak as Judge Soto. So, Judge, Bellinger, Christian Walker, I love it. And Alex Bregman, a lot of you don't love it. I love it. We'll talk about that a little later. What's his market like? I thought that might get done over the weekend, and it didn't. We'll talk about that in a bit. But they love the Devin Williams edition. Don't care that it's 1 year. Love that it's 1 year. But now second base is weaker than it was on Friday morning. Like when we woke up Friday morning, we were already worried. Like, we're going to roll with an unpolished rookie at second base, and now that rookie's gone. So another weak spot that could be solved with creativity, but it does exist.
Yeah, and that's why, in my opinion, the Kyle Tucker trade would have been really important, because let's say in theory the Yankees are worried about that third luxury tax, the Cohen tax, and they want to get below it. Tucker was only slated to make $16 million this year, and I understand it would have cost a lot in a trade. He's a free agent after this year. You're talking about contract extension and whatnot, but that would have solved your problems in the immediate short term, and it would have allowed you to use a little bit more of your budget to go get somebody else. And you could have also traded off the roster to get rid of some salaries, like and then at that point attach a prospect to a DJ LeMahieu trade and eat a certain percentage of it. Yankees are not getting creative. That's really, at the end of the day, that's my biggest issue with this. They're not getting creative, and they're not stepping on the throats of the other negotiators. So here's the deal. We learned over the weekend that there were 2 reasons, supposedly, that Kyle Tucker was not traded to the Yankees. One was because the Astros did not want to do business with the Yankees. Jim Crane reportedly did not want to trade with New York. Secondly, is that well, this wasn't really a reason they got burned, but it's just funny to think about. Secondly, who's in the trade package for Kyle Tucker in the Cubs deal? It's Isaac Paredes, third baseman. It's top third base prospect Cam Smith. And then it's former Yankees top prospect Hayden Wesneski. So once again, another team has taken a Yankees asset and turned it into a star. The Padres did it last year with Dylan Cease. Mm-hmm. Now it's happening. It's happened more times than that, but that's the most recent example. And now you have Hayden Wesneski, former Yankee, who was traded for Scott Efros, going to the Astros as a fairly large bargaining chip based on what the Astros wanted to give the Cubs Kyle Tucker. And they got in the Yankees' way. So some reporting to clear up there. Initially, it was believed that Luis Gil was the centerpiece of a hypothetical Yankees trade. And we sat there and we were like, well, if the Astros aren't going to accept this deal, then, what can you do? At this rate, what can you do? Mm-hmm. If they're going to overvalue third base options and prospects, like, whatever, we don't have that, so we're just gonna have to move on.
And there was some conflicting stuff on Gil too, where everybody said no, not included. Yankees never mentioned him or whatnot. But Gil posted basically right after that an Instagram story of him in the pool where he was like, "Thank God" or whatever. It was pretty clear that if he was mentioned, not mentioned, whatever, he thought he might get traded for Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. So you could see that these things made the rounds. Apparently, they made the rounds. And some wires got crossed because it was the Astros reportedly demanding Gil and George Lombard Jr. in the trade package for Kyle Tucker, and the Yankees, quote, balked at that. Mm-hmm. So do I balk at that? I mean, I don't know. Again, you got to pay. You're talking about trading with a rival. No fucking shit. They're going to ask you for more.
And I haven't seen anything from George Lombard Jr. So
yeah, we don't. And it's a 2023 first round pick that we don't know anything about. So in theory, if that was the trade package and you're the Yankees and you're balking at that, then you're not serious. And that's
the Cubs had to get, like, they were hurt by giving up Cam Smith. Like, I'm sure they didn't want to do that, but the price of doing business.
Of course. Yeah. You don't, you never want to give up a promising young talent who you might believe in. You don't want to give up proven commodities in these, 3 proven commodities in one trade for a rental. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But if you're talking about one proven commodity, one top prospect, and then another lottery ticket, like, you got to do the deal. So that's why this is more frustrating, because unless the Yankees have another trade candidate that they're high on and they're ready to throw the bag at, then what are you doing? Like, I like Luis Gil a lot. I'd keep him on my team, but if he's traded for another impact talent that helps us replace the production that Juan Soto has left in the void, then I do that trade and I move on and I figure out other options. Like, even with the Yankees' current situation, they could have signed another veteran pitcher and got rid of Gil, and that would have been the replacement, Kyle Gibson, for $12 million. It seems done. So I don't know. I know the Yankees have to focus on building for the future, but like, Gil is not some super young top prospect who figures to be a cornerstone. Like, he's older. He's been injured multiple times. He didn't log his first full season until last year. Like, I don't know why that was the holdup, if it was, but this is where the Yankees can't be taken seriously, in my opinion, because if you're doing business with the Astros, who hate you and you hate them, they are going to ask for more from you than they are from the Cubs, who, do they ever have any interaction with the Cubs ever? Like, that those are teams that never do business, never cross each other's paths. So yeah, like, it's like any other, if you're trading within the division, the price is higher. How do you value the player that you're getting? Are you willing to overpay? The answer for the Yankees is no, because they never overpay. Look at the Juan Soto trade last year. It took weeks to deliberate on, and supposedly they were reluctant to give up Michael King, who's a 30-year-old who started 10 games and looked promising, and they were hesitant to give up that for arguably the best hitter in the league. So this is where I start losing faith, and I don't take the Yankees seriously, because with Brian Cashman and his team, it's all about evaluating the pros and the cons, the risk factors, are we getting enough value in this trade? It doesn't matter when you're talking about maximizing a window with 2 players that are getting paid $650, $700 million total. You need to maximize Aaron Judge's prime and Garrett Cole's prime. And if you're not taking that seriously, then you're throwing this short-term championship contending window out the door. And any other bargain bin moves where you're going to be placing guys out of position or trying to get other teams to eat salary or trying to include the down to the last prospect in these deals to your liking, it's just not going to work out. And that's why, like, when Yankees fans get super excited on social media after one deal, it's like, well, there's still more deals that need to be made. And I don't know what makes you confident that they're having a philosophy change. Same front office for the last 25 years. Same people in place in the power positions for the last 15 to 20 years. Like, nothing is changing. So good luck.
This is where I lose all patience because we know, okay, Yankees are getting flamed. They trade for 1 year of Juan Soto. He takes them to the World Series. They give up a top prospect who is not a top 10, 20, 30 nationally. He's in the top 100 in the back half. He gets flipped for Dylan Cease. Good job by the Padres there. They gave up Michael King after 9 starts, who only has 2 years of control. He's down to 1 now, and they gave up some pitching depth. So was that worth it? You have people clowning on the Yankees for getting just 1 year of Juan Soto in exchange for pieces that wouldn't have taken them to the World Series last year. And Soto did take them to the World Series last year. That's what people call a good baseball trade. It's objectively a smart deal. Yes. They got a player who took them to the World Series. The Padres lost that guy, replaced him with talent, and lost in the NLDS. Good trade by the Yankees. Michael King, the player that hurts you the most, is hitting free agency after this season. You can sign him if you want to. You have to deal with 1 year of him in San Diego. Was that a mistake? Absolutely not. People are allowed to make fun of the Yankees, and they will. And they're going to get clowned whether they take the risk or not. But in my opinion, it's much more damning to not take the risk for Kyle Tucker than it was to take the risk for Juan Soto. And that risk paid off. And, but we know now that they weren't a Soto away from a World Series championship. They kind of were. I mean, Aaron Judge doesn't drop that fly ball. Nestor Cortez's last pitch as a Yankee ends up in the right field bleachers at Dodger Stadium. They unravel in the 5th inning of Game 5. You want to go back even further? Game 2, they almost staged a massive rally keyed by Soto in the 9th inning, and Soto homered earlier in that game to keep them close. So the Yankees should have won Game 1 in 10 different ways. Should have won Game 5 in 10 different ways. Nearly won Game 2, which isn't even one that usually gets thrown up for debate here. The only one they clearly, plainly lost was Game 3. Shohei Ohtani barely hit in the World Series and got injured. The Yankees could have won this series, and the narrative would have been the Dodgers stars didn't show up, and Ohtani went down at the worst possible time. But every coin flip went the Dodgers' way. The Yankees made some absurd plays that you've never seen before, most of which were due to the fault of defensive stalwarts. If you want to rag on Soto's defense, Judge made a defensive blunder. Volpe, defensive blunder. Rizzo and Cole, defensive blunder. I mean, they got to tighten it up everywhere. So the Yankees weren't a Soto away from a title. I mean, again, so many things did not go their way in the World Series. And yes, those are things that they've done all year. We have seen bad Gleyber Torres defense like we did in Game 1 in LA all year. We have seen players playing out of position like we did in Game 1 in LA all year. So in essence, the Yankees' true talent level, I mean, it's not surprising they got a bunch of bad breaks in the World Series. But at the same time, they were on a razor's edge in a 5-game series that should have been much longer. It could have resulted in them being up 3-2 going to LA. They get a big hit in Game 2. They might win that World Series in 5 games. So they were safely a Juan Soto away from the World Series. Now they're further than that. They have to backfill with many different options. They're trying run prevention. I would argue they should try offense too. And to bring it back to your point about maximizing this Judge Cole window, if there's one thing I can preach to Yankee fans is to get this idea out of your head that the Yankees cannot afford to stack potentially bad contracts in their later years. Because at this moment in time, the Yankees don't have bad contracts in the deep future. They have Aaron Judge and Max Fried. In the final year of Max Fried's contract, he is the only contract on the books. Aaron Judge and Max Fried, Judge has 7 more years left. We just added 8 to Fried. Those are the extended contracts. Giancarlo Stanton won't be around much longer. Carlos Rodon won't be around much longer. Hopefully they'll both be alive, but they will not be on the Yankees and on the Yankees payroll. DJ LeMahieu will not be around much longer. We are living right now in the nexus of the end of many of these long-term deals. The next couple of years are the toughest years for the Yankees to contend because they've got the final seasons of some of these regressing players. They've also got the final prime years of Garrett Cole and some very important seasons of Aaron Judge. So I want Alex Bregman on the New York Yankees. I know a lot of people don't, and I understand that you don't, you're worried about the metrics and you don't know how much longer Bregman's going to be Bregman. But I do think, some of the signs and the warning signs, I agree with you. They're there, right? And the stadium fit is an issue. But at the same time, the overlays actually show that his stats last year would have been roughly equivalent if he played his home games in Yankee Stadium. What I hate is when I see people do 162 game splits over Yankee Stadium's dimensions. You play half your games there, guys. Yeah. He's not playing every game. Someone is telling us we're very stupid. I don't know, maybe that's the comments, but anyway.
Damn it.
All right, sorry guys, closing up shop. But you don't play 162 home games. You play 81 home games, 81 road games. I understand that Bregman is not going to be a 4-WAR player forever. Personally, I have more faith in him in the postseason than nearly every bat still on the market. I believe in Alex Bregman for the next 3 or 4 years. Years 5, 6, and 7 could end up looking like the DJ LeMahieu deal. I don't think they will because Alex Bregman has more power than DJ LeMahieu ever had. Alex Bregman has more athleticism than DJ LeMahieu ever had. I think he ages better, but let's say he ages very poorly and years 5, 6, and 7 of the Bregman deal are a sunk cost and they block up the Yankees payroll moving forward. Okay, fine. So those are the latter years of Judge. You've done your best. Those are the latter years of Judge, Fried, and theoretically Bregman. Those are the only 3 deals that you have on your books at that point in time if Bregman ends up weighing you down. In the interim, I don't know what Bregman's market looks like. The Astros have this $156 million deal on the books that Bregman obviously wants to beat, so the Yankees would presumably have to beat that. But the Astros got Isaac Paredes, who plays third. The Astros got Isaac Paredes, who could move to first if they brought back Bregman, but apparently negotiations are stagnant there. They haven't talked, and nothing has changed since last week. They also are looking at Nolan Arenado, more expensive than Bregman, but take your pick. Fewer years. Okay, do what you're going to do. They also just traded for Cam Smith. So they have a long-term and short-term third base solution, and they're entertaining Arenado. They appear to be moving on. The Red Sox have been in Bregman's market, but they're split internally. Alex Cora wants him. The front office doesn't. The front office usually gets what they want here, especially given the fact that if Bregman went to Boston, he'd either have to play second or they'd have to pull the trigger on a Rafael Devers position change right now, or they'd have to move Devers to first and trade Tristan Casas. So many reasons that Bregman's actually a weird fit for the Red Sox. He's a great fit for Fenway's left field wall. Strange fit for the current roster, and moving him to second would be a bold decision that the front office apparently does not want to do. So the Red Sox seem like the front runners for Bregman, but at the same time, a lot of funkiness there. The Mets have reportedly expressed some degree of interest. That's a fit that makes sense. Maybe strike on that before Steve Cohen does. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. Mark Vientos is also at third base there, right? So imperfect, but I've heard the two sides connected a little bit. People seem to be scared of Bregman's regression more than they should be, in my opinion, because a deal might look bad years 5, 6, and 7. I don't think there's a high probability of it looking bad next year, the year after that. And man, how sweet would it be moving Jazz Chisholm to second base to fill that gap? Gold Glover and Bregman at third. Say what you will about Jazz learning third on the fly last year. It was very impressive. But also there are just some natural deficiencies. You read that report after the World Series where the Dodgers said, look at all the weird relays where we're watching a video of him being unable to comprehend the relay process. You know, we saw it on coming in on bunts. It's a natural talent he doesn't have. Alex Bregman is a fantastic defensive third baseman. The innate skills are there. One less thing you have to worry about. Instead of, I hope my solid offensive player with versatility can learn third base this year, plug Alex Bregman in there, and it's great. We have one of the best defensive third basemen in the game. I don't have to think about that. We put our versatile guy at second base. Great. I don't have to think about that anymore. I understand the trepidation, but I think Bregman has become way overhated, likely in large part due to it's twofold. It's 2017 Astros. I get it. I do get it. But I think a lot of people were probably saying the same things when Wade Boggs went to the Yankees and he rode a horse and won a World Series. So, and the second thing is just everybody can read StatCast. Everybody can read Savant these days. Everybody is just drawing their own, one-to-one conclusions. Oh, the heat map says this, therefore Bregman will do this. It's not quite that simple. I would rather have him in a big moment than anyone on the Yankees' current roster except Giancarlo Stanton. So I'm reading a lot online of people just pitching worse, cheaper options than Alex Bregman. Why get Bregman when you can trade for Nico Horner? Trade genuine assets for a guy who hits a powerless 270 every year? Slick fielding second baseman. Yeah, slick fielding third baseman. The Yankees' advantage is money.
Yeah.
The Yankees have a thin farm system. If I can avoid trading assets for a player I believe in less than Alex Bregman, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to sign Alex Bregman. So he is my number one current option on the free agent market. I understand the trepidation, but I'm very much all in. And look, I'll eat my word if the regression happens sooner than I think. But for my money, like you said, you have to maximize these couple of years where the Yankees have Aaron Judge in his full prime with his 220 OPS plus, these ridiculous numbers. If those slip to 140, 150, the Yankees are a much worse team. So you got to take advantage of freakish Judge and Cole's effective seasons while you can. I think Bregman helps you do that.
Yeah. And you got to stop thinking about year 6. And Jesus.
Stop giving me cheaper, worse options.
Who cares? People
love to pitch cheaper, worse options for the Yankees. And then the result is the payroll is lower and the team is worse.
Yeah. The situation is different here, again, because the Yankees have gotten past some of their bad deals. I know they're still paying Aaron Hicks this year. This is the last year they're paying Aaron Hicks, I think. Or maybe one more year after this.
I think this is it. He's not even playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah, no, he's so far gone. He's not even playing golf anymore. I think he's done with that. DJ LeMahieu, you got a couple of years left. The Giancarlo Stanton deal that was – and don't forget, we have to maximize Giancarlo Stanton's window. I understand he's not an everyday regular season player anymore. Like, to me, he's a wash in the regular season. He is a luxury you pay for October. He's proven himself ever since he came to the Yankees, the 2018 season. He's been good in the playoffs. He's continued this entire time. Like, that, don't forget, that clock is ticking too, and I understand that he absolutely blew up this year and nearly became a ironclad postseason legend if the Yankees had won the World Series, but you only have a couple years left of that. So it's all about maximizing what you have now, and there are no bad long-term contracts on the books. Like, if you were to dive into Carlos Rodon and how much they're paying him, the Yankees probably spent $30 extra million on Carlos Rodon. And that's really what they have to pay for most free agents anyway to convince them to come there. So it really wasn't that big of a difference. Was that contract a mistake? We can argue it, but you got a starting pitcher who's pretty good and faulty, but and that's the way it is.
Yeah, mistake. It's a kind of the mistake the Yankees can afford to make. And he was by and large pretty good last year.
Yeah, and again, that's a move you have to make if you want to continue to remain in contention and keep the train rolling. We could argue stuff that's not relative, right? Should have the Yankees signed 5 starting pitchers before Carlos Rodon? Sure, yeah. They would have been in a much better spot. They opted not to. Can't really help it. So you look at the length of the contracts now that they have, and it's the next 4 years where all the money is stacked. So keep stacking money for the next 4 years, defer some payments if you want, and that will help you get to where you need to be, or just win that one World Series, and then the discussion's over. It doesn't matter after that. In terms of Bregman's fit, I think he's a fit. I think that if you want to split hairs over the home run numbers because of the park that he was playing in, that doesn't really matter to me. The guy's a doubles machine. He also hits for average, career 272 batting average, something the Yankees don't have. Career 132 OPS plus. That's the type of stuff that you're looking for. And then obviously the Gold Glove caliber defense where you can put Jazz Chisholm, a skilled third baseman and a very athletic player, back to a position where he's comfortable.
A talented player who I am a fan of, but if we could stop forcing people to learn new positions on the fly, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be, that would be the plan, one could say, when constructing a roster. And in terms of the rest of the Yankees roster, like, this is the first time in a really long time they're kind of a little bit young. You have Volpe, you have Wells, you have Dominguez, you have Jazz, you have Ben Rice as all of these options. You have Oswald Peraza, who's still hanging around. You have Oswaldo Cabrera. You have Luis Gil. You have Clark Schmidt. Like, it's not like, are those the best options? No, but it's a solid young core, in my opinion. Anthony Volpe, regarded as one of the better shortstops in the league, even though his bat is lagging. Austin Wells, finalist for the Rookie of the Year. Luis Gil, Rookie of the Year. Clark Schmidt, above average starting pitcher. Jason Dominguez, top 10 prospect in baseball. Spencer Jones eventually coming up. Oswald Peraza was once upon a time a top 10 prospect in baseball. I don't know if they could fix him or, whatever, but Oswaldo Cabrera emerges one of the better utility options in the league. So we're not sitting here and saying, keep loading it up with aging veterans who are going to chew up the payroll and bring you down as the years go on. Like, yes, the Yankees have a few players of that mold right now, but they're mistakes that are baked into the payroll at the moment. They are mistakes that the Yankees can afford. And again, the Yankees missed out last year. If they had just gave Matt Chapman the money for 1 year, we wouldn't be talking about this. And then they would have been in a position to extend Matt Chapman. And I understand he's a righty bat and it would have been redundant. But now you're back here and you're talking about Alex Bregman, who is same age, slightly older. I feel like they're like right up against each other. But Chapman is, I would say, a superior defender. And if you're talking about park concerns, like, I might lean his bat just because if you're talking about taking Alex Bregman out of Minute Maid Park, maybe there's that drop off there that you're concerned about. They could have just paid for Matt Chapman and been done with it, and it would have been cheaper, but they didn't. So now you run into the situation where you have to choose the option in front of you. And for the Yankees, they hate the obvious option because they think it's just going with the flow. They think it's going by what the average fan on their couch is saying, but in reality, you need to get somebody who is going to be atop their game for the next 2 to 4 years. Alex Bregman, heading into his age 31 season, is that the best option? No. But does he have 3 all-star years left in him? Absolutely. Got MVP votes 2 years ago. Gold Glover last year. In my opinion, the 2019 AL MVP. Like, Mike Trout shouldn't have won that award. Played in 20-something fewer games, had all inferior stats except for OPS and slugging, and I think he beat him in OBP by like 10 points, and he had him by 4 home runs. Everything else was in Alex Bregman's favor. So that was another Trout MVP Hall of Fame stat padding award. Mm-hmm. But Alex Bregman's been very good for a very long time and is mostly durable. He had the injury issues in 2021, but aside from that, he's on the field all the time. He's a consistent veteran presence. You're paying for postseason experience. You're paying for the high leverage moments. That's what the Yankees can afford to pay for. That's what the Yankees need to pay for because that's what they're deficient in. So until they get another impact bat that convinces us is going to turn the tides or at least have the offense somewhat on par with where it was last year, then I don't see this team being much better. You can acquire all the pitching in the world. It doesn't matter. You need to score runs. And the Yankees have one everyday above average hitter right now, and it's Aaron Judge. And that's it. So Jazz Chisholm, just about average. Giancarlo Stanton, again, can't be relied upon. Anthony Volpe, below average. Austin Wells, slightly below average. I think we're excited for what he can bring, but we don't know. Jason Dominguez, jury's still out. We hope he can be above average. So you need to improve the offense. That is it. It doesn't matter if you're whining about Alex Bregman's 5th year costing you $32 million. That's the price you pay. And the Yankees need to learn that, and fans just need to stop. Stop. Again, too much information out there for you guys to read and to start drawing conclusions with. And this is why it's a problem, because bigger market teams have to throw caution to the wind. Look at Steve Cohen. He has to offer $40 million to secure the best talent in the league, because otherwise, why is that player going to the Mets?
That is a terrible contract, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a really bad contract. They're going to be regretting it in 8 years. And does it matter to me? No. I mean, does it matter to Steve Cohen? He might not regret it at all. He's probably saying, you know what, I'm earmarking this money for now, and I'm not going to be bothered by it in 12 years. So, sorry. And that could be the process. The Yankees constantly bothered by the luxury tax. Hal Steinbrenner bitches about it every year. There's all these changes that these bigger market teams want made. The Yankees are at the forefront of that discussion. What the Yankees need to do is stop worrying about the escalating tax penalties if they want to win, because, again, they built an imperfect roster. It is what it is. That's their decision for keeping the power structure the same for a quarter of a century. And now they have to move forward with what's exactly in front of them and what's going to get them to where they need to be. This team lacks the postseason edge. It lacks the offensive consistency. It lacks the attitude, and getting more players that possess that kind of changes the scope of everything. So that's where they need to go.
Yeah, I need edge. I'm a big Yandy Diaz guy also.
Love him. I would take him.
We're looking at,
so offensive, I'm looking at this roster. It's just bad.
Just bad. I mean, Fangraphs put out their top 100 players for 2025 the other day, and it was Judge in the top 5, I believe, and then Volpe and Jazz at 67 and 68. There's
That's
nobody
so
in the
high
top,
for them.
So high for them, but there's no one else in the top 60. Bregman I think was like 38 or 39. Like, it's just, it'd be great. Be very helpful. Very funny to read in the comments. Someone saying Cubs fans are the worst. I don't think Cubs fans are even in the bottom 20 worst. Like, I've never really had a terrible interaction with a Cubs fan. Mets fans climbing up that list, by the way. They were, you and I were both
Mets
aligned.
fans have always been up there. They know that.
I don't even really think about the Mets, though, and then all of a sudden this offseason, it's like, okay, our personal rivalry has now reached the forefront. I've never thought about you, but apparently you think about me all the time, KFC Barstool. Pete Alonso is an option. Like, I don't want to think about Pete Alonso until we have to, but if you're talking about markets collapsing, which is what we're talking about with Bregman, I think there were rumors that he was looking at Manny Machado's deal, and now he's got that $156 million deal on the table, and I don't know who else is seeking Bregman. Like, the Yankees could get Bregman under $200 million. I'm extremely on board. Pete Alonso, like, what is he going to be making over $25 million a year, and is he going to be getting over 5 years? Like, 125.
I have no idea.
It's a player I'm not that interested in because swing and miss, prodigious power, but boomer bust. Playoff tested, I get it. Hates our closer, so cool. If you get it at a certain value, I'd rather pay Pete Alonso $125 than Christian Walker $370 or whatever. Like, I don't know. We'll start playing around as the offseason drags on. I still think the Mets ultimately do land Alonso, but just because I don't see how they cannot, because that lineup is half done and the rotation is 1/5 done. But I would, if the value continues to dip, I would play around. And you look at the Yankees roster offensively, not nearly as talented as it needs to be now. But the American League could not be more wide open. We laugh at the Boston Red Sox plenty on this show. Oh, they think they're contending. I mean, Garrett Crochet helps that rotation. The lineup was already playoff caliber last year. They could get in there because who else in the American League is taking steps forward? The Astros are trading Kyle Tucker. The whole AL Central is pretty good. A couple of those guys are going to make the playoffs. Cleveland, I believe in. Kansas City, I believe in. They're bringing that rotation back. But is Michael Wacha going to have the same year he did last year? Is Seth Lugo going to have the same year he did last year? Are we sure that's a great team? The Minnesota Twins are taking the year off, it would seem. The Chicago White Sox are the worst team in modern history. The Tigers took a big step forward in the playoffs, but where's their offseason shakeup? Alex Cobb to stabilize the rotation? They went with the old 3 yards in a cloud of dust NFL strategy last year with like 10 bullpen arms a game, and hopefully we win 3-2. I don't know if that's going to play all year long. I love that run, but I don't think they're quite there yet. And the Baltimore Orioles, if we believe this bombshell report about Mike Elias and ownership, we heard they were supposed to have their own Steve Cohen David Rubenstein, he's an Orioles fan. He took over from the Angelos' nightmare ownership, and he was going to change the city of Baltimore and lock up their young talent and spend wisely. And for whatever reason, I mean, the rumors claim that Mike Elias wants to build a team a different way to prove that things can be done without, being the Yankees and
reverse
being the
Yankee
Dodgers.
syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way with, before free agency existed. I'm going to scout. Okay. I mean, look, I don't know if I believe that fully. I don't know if he's just not spending because he's not a spending guy. I don't know if he's not, that's just not his area of expertise. If he gets more credit than he should for winning the tank lottery in Houston over and over again, and he's not winning it he's not able to, make a pie out of what the ingredients that the Orioles have. I don't know what it is, but the bottom line is they spent $50 million on Gary Sanchez and Tyler O'Neill this offseason. They're going to lose Corbin Burns. They don't have a rotation. They're threatening to, they're getting to a dangerous place with Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. I don't know what Jackson Holiday is. He came up last year and looked funky. Can you rely on him as a building block moving forward? Colton Cowser, that's a real good player, but we all thought the Orioles were going to take a stranglehold of this division and the American League for half decade. They're taking their foot off the throttle instead of putting it on the throttle. I mean, the Yankees are arguably better positioned than the Orioles right now. The Red Sox are as well. I don't know who else in the American League is making moves. The Astros are going to be dangerous until discounted, until proven otherwise. The AL Central teams are strong AL Central teams, but the Yankees dispatched of them last year. I mean, the Orioles seem to be willingly taking a step back in a wide open league, which God bless you, but what is going on?
Hubris? I don't know. I don't know. Look, I don't know what to believe. I think that I don't know if the Orioles have yet to miss out on a big talent that they were rumored to be getting.
You just pay Burns, though. Like, you need to be able to take that risk with Corbin Burns after you traded talent for him.
Yeah. I don't know. I forget exactly. Well, they're losing Santander.
Sure are.
So they're losing a lot of home runs, but they're ostensibly improving on the defensive side because he logged like over 100 games in the outfield and was not good at all. So I think until the Orioles actually whiff on someone like Burns, if Burns leaves, or like what other positions do they need? I don't even know because they have all these young guys. Like it's either you got to trade some of these guys and act fast and get ahead of the market, which is what some of these other teams did. Like the Dodgers just went out and they signed Blake Snell. They said, we want Blake Snell. We'll ostensibly overpay for him, and that will be that, and we're going to do it. I don't entirely know the Orioles. Well, obviously they need pitching. On the offensive side, they need veterans because you need that mix of veterans and young talent. And you're right, like the way that this is all coming together for them, they have all of the young talent you could possibly want after going through that hellacious tank, and now you have to supplement it. So if Mike Elias is sitting there saying, I don't like any of these free agents, well, guess what, buddy? You're not going to like any of the free agents for the next 4 years.
You going to sign Vlad Jr.? I don't think you're going to sign Vlad Jr.
Yeah, Vlad Jr. is going to be the most expensive. You're going to wait to spend the most you're going to be spending like in a non-Juan Soto expenditure or a top of his class starting pitcher expenditure. I mean, maybe. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it again. But if there is that disconnect between the front office and ownership, like there's no reason he shouldn't be fired by now unless there's a clause in his contract that doesn't allow it. Because, I mean, if they're giving him the green light to spend, which is what the rumors are suggesting, and he's opting not to because he wants his philosophy to trump whatever conventional wisdom suggests, like that's ridiculous. That's where you're in Brian Cashman levels of territory where it's like, I'm going to do it my way and it doesn't matter what the results are. We're just going to keep trying until it works. And even though it's not working, we're hopeful. But Orioles, really botching this window, if that's the case, in my opinion, because they win the division, 2023. And that was the offseason where it was like, okay, you got to spend. They have the transition between the ownership group, so money wasn't probably as flush as they had suspected. So they said, all right, we'll go out and we'll make a trade. They get someone like Corbin Burns. Okay, you're better now. Yes and no. Like, yes, the young players are going to take a step forward, but It's not all going to be fully linear. Like you have Adley Rutschman, who kind of was not good offensively, like for the majority of in terms of what you were expecting from him. Yeah, not in the second half.
Bobby Witt Jr. was available.
Yep. So I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what exactly they need because I don't care about the Orioles. Like my energy is focused on the Yankees and my energy is focused on the Red Sox, just making sure they don't get that much better. But they're losing 40 homer power. They're losing an ace starter, and they have made no additions. So you look at that and you say, all right, what's going on? Mike Elias, even if you don't want to spend money, like no trades yet, what are we doing? There's Padres are trying to get rid of some people. Like,
everybody.
Couldn't you use a Dylan Cease? Couldn't you use a Luis Ariz? Isn't that possible? Diamondbacks rumored to have talked Zach Gallen with some teams. I don't know how true that is, but why aren't you all over that? That's a Corbin Burns supplement who you could maybe pay cheaper right off the bat and see what you can get, see how long you can commit to him and have that be the front end of your rotation. So this would be hilarious. This would be an all-time botch that would, of course, go under the radar because it's the Orioles, and like the Orioles are good guys, and they're like good guys, and they're also not relevant. But yeah, I mean that fan base is about to learn the hard way about how all of the progression in terms of prospect growth and young player growth is not linear, and that you do need to spend money in order to win. Like it's not all faceless money ball, like it was with the A's or like it was with the Rays for that time, and a couple of years ago. It all comes back and it all comes crashing down eventually. And it would honestly, like, as much as I like to watch the Yankees rivals fails, this would be disappointing. This would be really disappointing. I mean, we would obviously dance on their graves, but to watch all these players not get maximized and to watch the window just wither away with arguably one of the greatest young cores of young talent in like the modern era, like that's sad, isn't it? Sad.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
If it was the Red Sox, I'd be laughing like without question. But like the Orioles, I don't really have any ill will towards them unless their fans like start doing the wall nonsense. How many times you're going to move the wall and you think it's like justified? Whatever. All fans are toxic. We know that. But like, I like Gunnar Henderson. I like Adley Rutschman. That's like as good of a start as you're going to get with a young core. And I even like Colton Cowser. He was great at the winter meetings. He went on TV a couple of times and he was actually hilarious. So I'm like, you're really gonna give these guys a shitty time. You're gonna put all the pressure on their backs to get the job done. Like get a couple other players in there, man.
It would be nice. I don't know what the Orioles are doing. I think the Red Sox are taking steps forward. I think the Yankees have some work to do. I think the Blue Jays you can essentially discount at this point, but we'll see. Blue Jays had one of the best offensive teams in baseball, and then we're going all in on defense, and then it didn't. They got markedly worse. So another cautionary tale for the Yankees. Juan Soto to flexible defenders. Okay, we got to get some bats in there as well. Let's see what they do at first base. Let's see if they can actually get this Bellinger deal across the finish line. We will be back on Thursday afternoon, 2:00 Eastern, to update you on anything of the changes. That's a big gap. Monday to Thursday, Yankees. You got some time to work this out, guys. We're giving you 3 more days.
We will leave you alone with your thoughts.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast if something really crazy happens. We'll probably hold off until Thursday, though. Plenty of players left to sign, plenty of offseason moves yet to be made. The Yankees are not going to enter next year with this many holes on offense. I hope. Weird. Maybe they will enter the next season with a ton of holes and just be not good. But I think that they're probably going to patch some of these up. Let's see what's going on. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib, Thomas Carannante. Where can the people find you? And based on the comments, I think people probably do want to find us between shows.
Oh, are they yelling at me?
No, they're yelling at each other, I think. But they're probably contributing to the discussion.
Come yell at Tommy's_takes at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please, you'll get those alerts when we're going live in the event we have to before Thursday. You never know what's going to happen. We're not optimistic, but this is our job. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com as well. That is where all the written content is for you to read. We got plenty of stuff going out every couple hours. Things that we're not talking about on this podcast. Things that you need to be filled in on if you're trying to keep up with everything Yankees. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's go Yanks, man. Figure it out. Keep the foot on the gas pedal. Got to keep being aggressive. Can't waste any time. Can't be complacent. We'll see you again Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern live right here nearing the Christmas break. Stay with us, baby.
Stay with us, everybody. And one last question before the horn. Am I related to sculptor David Weinrib? I want to shout out this question because you made me aware that that's a person who exists. So I will Google that person after this podcast. No, I am
You have
not
to
related.
you have to do the swab test now to say.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't know for sure. Yeah, coming up on Thursday's podcast, we're going to be bringing on sculptor David Weinrib. He will be in the third chair. Until then, though, take care, everybody. We'll catch you on Thursday. And yeah, go Yankees. Hope they win some baseball games. Hope they get some players. Bye.